Here is something a soil scientist will tell you that the fertilizer aisle never will. That dying tomato plant in your garden right now. The one with the yellowing leaves and the sagging stems and the flowers that have already closed for good. That plant is almost certainly not dying. It is starving. And the exact nutrients it is starving for are already sitting in your kitchen trash can. I am going to teach you 5 zero-cost liquid fertilizers you can brew from kitchen and garden scraps, backed by university soil research, that can start reversing plant collapse within 48 hours. Not weeks, not months, days. And along the way, I am going to show you the single biggest mistake that keeps every one of these methods from working, because that mistake is almost never talked about. But first, let us establish something important. The fertilizer industry has built a century-long business on a half-truth. The half-truth is this: plants need nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That part is true. The part they leave out is that synthetic NPK fertilizers feed the plant while starving the soil. They bypass and degrade the living biology in the dirt beneath your feet, the bacteria, the fungi, the protozoa, the invisible workforce that a plant actually depends on for long-term health. Every time you pour a blue crystal synthetic into the ground, you are handing the plant a single meal while burning down the kitchen. Biological liquid feeds work the opposite way. They operate on 3 distinct pillars: the workforce, which is living microbes, the fuel, which is carbon-rich food for those microbes, and the catalyst, which are the mineral cofactors that switch on the plant's own enzyme pathways. Every liquid fertilizer on this list hits at least one of those pillars. The best ones hit all 3. Liquid 1. Onion peel tea. The golden elixir hiding in your trash. Before the next onion skin goes into the garbage, consider this. The white bulb that goes into the soup holds far less nutritional density than the dry, papery outer skin that almost everyone throws away. University soil labs have measured onion skins and found concentrated doses of potassium, calcium, magnesium, and iron in those outer layers, more than in the bulb itself. But there is a 4th compound in onion peels that almost no gardening source talks about correctly. It is called quercetin. Quercetin is a bioflavonoid, the same compound found in red wine, apples, and blueberries that supports cardiovascular health in humans. It stabilizes internal chemistry when a heat wave or a cold snap rolls through. When you deliver quercetin to a struggling plant, you are not just feeding it. You are switching its defenses back on. Now here is the mistake almost every gardener makes. They hear about onion peels and they dig the dry skin straight into the soil, expecting them to decompose and feed the roots. That method works, but it takes weeks. The nutrients stay locked inside the dry fiber while the plant above continues to wilt. The real technique is to brew a tea. Water pulls compounds out of plant tissue the same way a tea bag releases flavor into a hot cup. A handful of dry onion skins, a quart jar, cool tap water. That is the entire setup. Let it steep at room temperature for 24 to 48 hours. The water will darken from clear to amber. That color change is potassium, magnesium, calcium, and quercetin leaving the tissue and dissolving into the liquid. Once they are in the water, they are already bioavailable. No composting, no waiting, no breaking down. Pour this at the base of a yellowing tomato plant or a pepper that has stopped setting fruit. Within days, new leaves come in a deeper green. Flower production picks back up within a week. This is the catalyst pillar at work. Minerals delivered in a form the root can absorb immediately. Liquid 2. Fermented rice water. The microbial primer your soil has been waiting for. The cloudy water left in the pot after rinsing uncooked rice is already mildly useful to the garden. It carries starches, B vitamins, and trace amounts of iron and zinc. But the real transformation happens 3 to 5 days later, after the rinsed water has been left in a covered jar at room temperature. The liquid takes on a faint sour smell, like the early edge of sourdough starter. Most people pour it out at that point. That would be a significant mistake. That smell is the signature of a microbial bloom. Lactic acid bacteria and wild yeasts have colonized the liquid, and this is where the research of Dr. Teruo Higa becomes relevant. In the 1980s, Dr. Higa, a professor at the University of the Ryukyus in Japan, introduced the concept of effective microorganisms, often abbreviated EM. His work demonstrated that specific beneficial microbes, when introduced to depleted soil, could revive it within weeks. EM formulas are now used on farms in more than 150 countries. The microbes at the core of those commercial formulas are the same organisms that appear naturally and for free inside properly fermented rice water. Here is what happens underground when this liquid reaches the garden bed. The lactic acid bacteria and yeasts in the water meet the existing microbial community around the plant roots. The starches from the rice act as a feast. The soil workforce wakes up, multiplies rapidly, and gets to work unlocking nutrients that were already present in the soil but biologically locked. Within a single week, the population of beneficial microbes around a treated plant can triple. This is the workforce pillar. Fermented rice water does not feed the plant. It builds the plant's support system. The distinction matters. Giving a plant synthetic nitrogen is like handing someone a single meal. Building the soil biology is like handing them a working kitchen. Food runs out. A kitchen keeps producing. The common mistake: nearly every first-time user pours the rice water on fresh, straight from rinsing. Fresh rice water is mild. Fermented rice water, 3 to 5 days old, is an entirely different tool. The smell is your signal. If the liquid does not carry that faint sour tang, it is not ready. And one more rule that almost no source gets right: fermented rice water must be diluted before it touches soil. Mix 1 part rice water to 10 parts clean water. Undiluted, the acidity is strong enough to irritate tender roots, especially seedlings. Diluted correctly, it is gentle enough to apply every week through the entire growing season. One more thing about the water you use to dilute. If you are on municipal tap water, the chlorine in that water is a chemical sterilant designed to kill the exact bacteria and yeast you are trying to cultivate. Let your tap water sit in an open container for 24 hours, or run an aquarium air pump through it to outgas the chlorine before mixing your biological feeds. This single step is the most commonly skipped step in home biological programs, and skipping it is why many people try these methods once, see no result, and conclude they do not work. Liquid 3. Vegetable scrap digestate. The fastest nitrogen source you are throwing in the trash. Every refrigerator produces it. The forgotten tomato at the bottom of the crisper. The lettuce that wilted before anyone got to it. The bruised cucumber pushed to the back of the shelf. For most households, these scraps go to the landfill. For a gardener who understands nitrogen mineralization, those same scraps are the fastest-acting organic nitrogen source that can be made at home. In 1840, a German chemist named Justus von Liebig proved what is now called the law of the minimum. Plant growth, Liebig showed, is not determined by the nutrients a plant has plenty of. It is determined by the one nutrient the plant has least of. Picture a wooden barrel built from staves of different heights. The water inside only rises as high as the shortest stave, no matter how tall the rest are. Plants work the same way. In nearly every American backyard garden, the shortest stave is nitrogen. And overripe tomatoes, soft peppers, wilted spinach, old cucumbers, all of them are nitrogen in disguise. When those scraps are crushed into a 5-gallon bucket, covered with water, weighted down to stay submerged, and left to ferment for about 2 weeks, bacteria in the water break the plant cells apart. The nitrogen locked inside the tissue gets released into the liquid through a process called nitrogen mineralization. In water, it happens far faster than it would in a compost pile. The finished liquid is dark, cloudy, and strong-smelling. The smell is proof it is ready. Diluted at 1 part scrap liquid to 30 parts fresh water and poured at the soil surface around the root zone, this digestate begins to work within 4 to 6 days. Pale, tired leaves deepen to full shades of green. New shoots push out from leaf axils where none were forming before. A plant that looked finished on Monday can be setting new flowers by Saturday. The common mistake that burns more gardens than any other: applying this liquid as a foliar spray or pouring it on undiluted. This liquid is strong enough to scorch leaves on contact and burn root hairs beyond recovery when undiluted. Soil only. Correct dilution always. Never on the leaves. Liquid 4. The kitchen cocktail. A full-spectrum tonic from breakfast scraps. Here is the problem with liquids 1, 2, and 3. A dying plant is usually not short on just one nutrient. It is missing 5 or 6 at once, in different amounts, all at the same time. For a rescue that comprehensive, a single ingredient is not enough. You need a full recipe, and this one assembles entirely from items most households throw out before breakfast. Banana peels provide potassium, the mineral that drives flowering, fruiting, and the plant's ability to move water through its own cells. A tomato plant short on potassium produces small, watery fruits with skins that split as they ripen. Crushed eggshells provide calcium carbonate, the structural building block of cell walls. Calcium deficiency is the specific cause of blossom end rot, that black sunken patch at the bottom of an otherwise beautiful tomato fruit. Use coffee grounds. And here is where decades of bad internet advice needs correcting. Used coffee grounds are pH neutral. University soil labs consistently measure used grounds between 6.5 and 6.8, which is almost exactly where most vegetable gardens want to sit. Fresh, unbrewed grounds are acidic. Used grounds are not. What they actually do is add organic matter, feed earthworms, improve drainage, and release nitrogen slowly over several weeks. They are genuinely useful, just not for the reason most people think. Now, 2 additional ingredients take this recipe from good to exceptional. Epsom salt, technically magnesium sulfate, deserves special attention because magnesium sits at the exact structural center of every chlorophyll molecule in every green leaf on Earth. No magnesium, no chlorophyll. No chlorophyll, no photosynthesis. When magnesium runs low, leaves begin to yellow between the veins while the veins themselves stay green. A very specific pattern called interveinal chlorosis. 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt dissolved into this brew can reverse that specific symptom within days. A critical caveat belongs here, because this is where well-meaning gardeners cause harm. Yellowing leaves can have many causes. Nitrogen deficiency yellows the older leaves first. Iron deficiency yellows the youngest leaves. Overwatering and root rot can yellow the entire plant. Epsom salt is the correct tool for magnesium deficiency specifically. When the cause is something else, adding Epsom salt repeatedly throws the soil's mineral balance off and can make the underlying problem worse. Diagnose before treating. The second specialty ingredient is Blackstrap molasses, not table molasses. Blackstrap is the dark, almost bitter variety produced from the final boiling of sugar cane. It is rich in iron and trace minerals, but its primary role in this formula is something almost no gardening source explains accurately. Blackstrap molasses is food for microbes. A tablespoon stirred into the brew acts like a dinner bell for every beneficial bacterium in the liquid. Their populations can multiply within hours. Those hyperactive microbes then break down the banana peels, eggshells, and coffee grounds far faster than the raw ingredients would decompose on their own. A brew without molasses takes 3 weeks to reach peak usefulness. A brew with molasses can be ready in 3 days. That single tablespoon is the difference between a slow-drip fertilizer and an emergency rescue. To make it, add banana peels, finely crushed eggshells, used coffee grounds, 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt, and 1 tablespoon of blackstrap molasses to about 1 gallon of warm, chlorine-free water. Cover the bucket and let it steep for 3 to 5 days. Stir once daily. The finished tonic carries potassium, calcium, nitrogen, magnesium, iron, trace minerals, and a live culture of working bacteria, all in one application. Dilute to 1 part tonic to 20 parts water before applying at the root zone. This is the fuel and catalyst pillars working together simultaneously. Liquid 5. Aged manure tea. The oldest rescue protocol in agriculture. Before 1913, synthetic fertilizer did not exist. Every farm on Earth, from Iowa to Ireland to the foothills of India, ran on the same 2 inputs, animal manure and compost. Then a German chemist named Fritz Haber and an engineer named Karl Bosch invented a process that pulls nitrogen from thin air and converts it to ammonia. The Haber-Bosch process is often credited with feeding half the human population alive today. It is also the process that stripped biological life out of cropland across the industrialized world over the following century. That is the trade-off almost no gardening book explains. Synthetic nitrogen fed billions of people, and it also taught farmers to feed the plant while starving the soil. The results are now measurable from space. Dead zones in the Gulf of Mexico, collapsed soil structure across the Great Plains, and a slow erosion of the microbial life that keeps a garden genuinely alive. For a home gardener, the old method still works. And for rescuing a dying plant in a backyard, it still outperforms the synthetic version. Aged manure tea, sometimes called the giant tea bag method, is as straightforward as any technique on this list. A shovel full of aged, dried manure from chickens, cows, or rabbits, never fresh, goes into a porous sack. An old cotton pillowcase works, as does a burlap feed bag or a mesh laundry bag. The sack is tied shut and dropped into a 5-gallon bucket of chlorine-free water. Over 3 to 5 days, the water slowly extracts soluble nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and a long list of trace minerals, leaving the solid matter safely inside the sack, where it cannot burn roots and cannot carry weed seeds into the beds. Each manure type brings a different nutritional profile, and choosing correctly matters more than most people realize. Aged chicken manure carries the highest nitrogen and phosphorus levels of the three, the most powerful growth stimulant available in this format. A single cup of properly diluted chicken manure tea can push a tired tomato plant back into heavy flowering within a week. Aged cow manure is more balanced, lower in nitrogen, exceptional for building long-term soil structure and feeding the humus layer. Rabbit manure is the quiet secret of experienced gardeners. It is the only common manure cold enough in nitrogen to be applied raw to a garden without burning roots, and rabbit-based tea is the gentlest and safest option for young seedlings. The mistake that destroys more manure tea gardens than any other single factor: using fresh manure. Fresh droppings from any animal carry too much ammonia. They carry weed seeds. They can carry pathogens from whatever the animal was eating that week. Fresh manure applied generously can scorch an entire row of seedlings within 48 hours. The manure must be aged, ideally 6 months to a year, before it goes into the tea bag. There are no shortcuts on this step. Once brewed, dilute the finished tea to the color of weak iced tea, approximately 1 part tea to 10 parts clean water, before it touches the garden. Applied at the right strength in the cool hours of early morning or late evening, when soil temperatures drop and root activity peaks. A single cup poured at the root zone of a tomato plant can keep that plant thriving for a full week. Applied in the heat of midday, much of the nitrogen evaporates before roots can absorb it. Timing is not a suggestion. It is a physiological fact. If you like this info, please like the video, leave a comment below about which of these 5 you're going to try first, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and shows your support. Every kitchen that turns its scraps back into the soil is one more step toward genuine agricultural self-reliance. The garden has been waiting for you to stop buying what you can already brew. Happy growing!